I drove to her office with a bunch of sunflowers. It was our 16th anniversary. The receptionist looked up and said Rhonda was out to lunch with Michael. She said it the same way someone mentions the weather. Then she added, "They do lunch every Friday." I thanked her and walked back to my truck. Rhonda and I got married when we were both 28. She was finishing a business degree at night while working the front desk at a claims office. I was trying to turn 2 service vans into something worth keeping. We figured life out as we went, like most people do. By the time of that anniversary, Marsh Comfort Systems had 5 guys on payroll and 3 trucks with my name on the side. I'd paid off the house in Broken Arrow 4 years early. Rhonda had worked her way up to senior claims analyst at Meridian Insurance. Good health benefits, decent title, her own desk with a window. Over the last couple of years, she talked a lot about her team, especially their regional director, Michael Dvor. Sharp guy, she'd say. Great communicator. He'd even gone to bat for her during a raise the previous spring. I wasn't jealous. 16 years together, and she had never given me a reason to be. When a marriage lasts that long without problems, you stop checking. You stop looking for cracks. You walk across the foundation every day and assume it's solid. That Tuesday, I had blocked out the afternoon for Camacho's on Riverside, the Italian place where we celebrated our 5th anniversary. I was feeling good. The kind of steady good that comes when work is running smoothly and life feels stable. Then, suddenly, I wasn't. I didn't leave right away after the receptionist told me. I sat in my Tacoma in the visitor lot and let the air conditioning run. 40 minutes later, a silver sedan pulled up to the front entrance. Rhonda stepped out of the passenger seat. Michael Dvor walked her to the door. It was the first time I had seen him in person. Early 50s, trim, open collar, the kind of man who had been running things for years and carried himself like it. Rhonda was laughing at something he said. Not the polite work laugh I'd heard at office parties. Something softer, easier, more comfortable. He held the door open for her, and as she walked in, she touched his forearm. 2 seconds, maybe. But I'd known Rhonda my entire adult life. I knew what that gesture looked like when it meant something. I pulled out my phone and took 2 photos through the windshield. Not perfect shots, but enough. After they disappeared inside, I sat there a little longer with the engine running. The sunflowers were on the passenger seat, the paper wrapping already soft from the heat. I decided against going in. Not because I was afraid, but because I didn't have anything solid yet. Walking in angry with only a feeling and a parking lot scene wasn't going to help me. So I drove home. I left the sunflowers and a glass of water on the kitchen counter and never mentioned any of it. Rhonda got home around 6:30. She came in through the garage, dropped her bag, and asked how my day went. Then she noticed the flowers. "Where'd you get those?" she asked. "Picked them up on the way home," I said. She smiled, leaned down to smell them, then laughed softly. "I completely forgot it was our anniversary," she said. "We should do something this weekend. Maybe dinner Saturday." She kissed me on the cheek and went upstairs to change. I stood in the kitchen listening to her move around upstairs. Closet doors opening, bathroom sink running, the TV clicking on in the bedroom. And all I could think about was Michael Dvor holding that door open for her. About the way she touched his arm. About the way she laughed. She came downstairs in sweats and asked if I wanted pasta. "Sure," I said. We ate dinner at the kitchen table. She talked about a complicated insurance claim involving disputed timelines. She talked about her team. She never mentioned Michael. Later, while she sat on the couch scrolling through her phone, I opened our banking app. 2 Tuesday lunch charges appeared from restaurants I didn't recognize. Around 11 o'clock, I went upstairs to bed. She came up an hour later. I lay there listening to her breathing slow into sleep. When it finally settled into a steady rhythm, I reached over and picked up her phone. The message thread was near the top. Michael D. I took the phone into the bathroom, sat on the edge of the tub, and read 6 months of texts. Most of them were careful. Office shorthand, meeting references, work talk. But between the careful messages were the real ones. The truth always slips through eventually. Last night was exactly what I needed. Tuesday can't come fast enough. By the time I reached the end of the thread, there was nothing left to wonder about. I took 16 screenshots. Every message that mattered. Then I put her phone back exactly where I found it and returned to bed. Rhonda never stirred. I lay awake for 20 minutes, then got up and walked into the kitchen. I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed everything out. Dates, names, exact wording from the messages. At 6 in the morning, I emailed the notes to myself and deleted the draft. My wife was sleeping with her boss. That was the truth. No need to dress it up with softer words. By the time the sky started turning gray outside, I already knew what I was going to do next. I gave myself 4 days. Wednesday, I worked a job in South Tulsa. Thursday, a school building in Bixby. On paper, it looked like a completely normal week. Rhonda and I had dinner together both nights. She talked. I listened. I didn't argue, didn't ask questions, didn't give her any sign that I knew. That part mattered. I have a client named Walt who's been in commercial real estate around Tulsa for 30 years. He knows everybody worth knowing. Thursday afternoon, sitting in my truck between jobs, I called him casually and asked if he knew Michael DeVore at Meridian. Walt did. Solid professional reputation, he said. Married. Wife named Connie. 2 kids. Lives out in Jenks. I found Connie's dental office online that evening. Then I sent her a text. I kept it short. I don't know you, but I have information about your husband that I believe you deserve to hear before anyone else does. I understand if you don't respond. She replied 8 minutes later. She asked if we could meet somewhere outside town. I said yes. We met Saturday morning at a diner off Highway 169 north of Owasso. She was already there when I walked in. Mid-40s. Calm eyes. Hands wrapped around a coffee cup. She looked like a woman who had already suspected the truth and was finally ready to hear it out loud. I placed my phone on the table and showed her the screenshots. She went through them one at a time. Didn't say much. But when she reached the photos from outside the office, she stopped and stared out the diner window toward the parking lot. Finally, she sighed. I've suspected something for 2 months, she admitted quietly. Then she told me something else. Meridian had a strict policy against relationships between supervisors and direct employees. Michael had personally signed off on that policy when he became regional director. He was also being considered for a VP promotion later that year. And then she mentioned the annual family recognition dinner. Thursday night. Renaissance Hotel downtown. Spouses included. I drove home thinking about that dinner the entire way back. Monday morning, I sent all 16 screenshots directly to Meridian's HR compliance inbox. Clear subject line. Names included. No extra commentary. Sunday evening, Rhonda casually mentioned the company dinner while folding laundry. She described it like it was another routine obligation. Awards, recognition, decent food. Spouses are invited this year. She said it the way people offer invitations, they secretly hope you'll decline. I'll go, I told her. She paused for a second. You really don't have to, she said. It's pretty corporate. I could use the break, I replied. She didn't push it any further. That week, Connie filed for divorce through her own attorney. I filed mine separately. No coordination. No revenge plan. Just 2 people making decisions after learning the truth. Wednesday morning, I moved the joint savings account into my personal account. My attorney told me the timing mattered. Thursday evening, I put on the navy blazer I usually save for client presentations. Found my good shoes in the back of the closet. The last time I wore them was another anniversary dinner years ago. Rhonda had worn a red dress that night. I remembered that. The HR complaint had been sitting in someone's inbox since Monday. The divorce papers had already been filed. All I had left to do was show up. The ballroom at the Renaissance Hotel was filled with round tables and soft lighting. Rhonda was already there near the bar with a couple of co-workers when I arrived. The second she saw me walking across the room, something flickered across her face. Then she smiled. You look nice, she said. We sat down together while the room slowly filled. Michael DeVore sat across the ballroom with several managers. His back was turned toward me. He never saw me arrive. About 30 minutes into the event, the ballroom doors opened again. Connie DeVore walked in. Navy dress. Straight posture. She took a seat near the back of the room. And from across the ballroom, I watched the exact moment Michael noticed her. His sentence stopped halfway through. He looked at Connie, then at me, then slowly set his drink down. After dinner, he walked toward the bar near the exit. I waited a minute before following him. He stood there alone with his back to the room. I stepped beside him and said quietly, HR received a complaint Monday morning. Connie filed separately through an attorney. I thought you deserved to hear it from me first. He didn't answer. I walked away and returned to the table. The drive home was silent. Rhonda put her phone inside her purse the moment we got into the car and never touched it again. The radio played softly while the silence sat between us. When we got home, I told her I'd be sleeping in the spare room and we'd talk in the morning. She stood there in the hallway looking stunned. Not guilty exactly. More like someone realizing the door had already closed. She quietly said my name once. I looked at her and said, "Tomorrow." Then I walked upstairs. The next morning, she came downstairs wearing her robe. I already had coffee made. I told her I had filed for divorce before the dinner. Told her the house was mine before we got married, and it was staying that way. Then I told her she had 2 weeks to make arrangements. She cried. Said she was sorry. Said things had gotten out of hand. Said she had already ended things with Michael weeks earlier. I let her finish. Then I said, I read 6 months of texts. The last message came Friday. She moved out 2 weeks later. Boxes stacked into her sister's place in Bixby. Michael's VP promotion disappeared that same month. Walt told me later he'd been reassigned into a compliance role with no direct reports. Connie's divorce filing became official in November. Rhonda's contract at Meridian wasn't renewed at the end of the quarter. She eventually took a job at a smaller firm across town. I heard that from her sister, who still texts me sometimes. The house is quiet now, mostly in a good way. The business is steady. The waiting list stays about 2 weeks out. My crew shows up every morning, and the work keeps moving. Some evenings, I sit out back with a beer, and life feels okay again. Other nights, it's just quiet. And I let it stay quiet. The beige walls are still up in the bedroom. I keep meaning to repaint them. Haven't decided on a color yet. Sometimes, I think about those 16 years. Not with bitterness. More like someone going through old paperwork, trying to understand what was real and what they simply wanted to believe. I still don't have a clean answer for that. Maybe I never will. But I do know this. I drove to her office one Tuesday afternoon carrying a bunch of sunflowers. I walked inside. I heard what the receptionist said. Then I walked back out to my truck and started paying attention. The house is still mine. The business is still mine. And I'm still standing. For now, that's enough. And honestly, that line, "They do lunch every Friday," probably would have stayed in my head forever too.